Is that a breakup?
I think we have a situation right here.
On the Feeling Station.
Hello.
Hey, what's happening?
Hi. How you doing?
I'm doing exceptionally well. Thanks for asking. Welcome to the Feeling Station. Before we go too far, I need to let you know that we're recording an episode of the Feeling Station podcast, so please do your best not to say your name, okay?
Of course.
If you do accidentally say your name, I'll be able to wipe it out in post-production. Just don't give me the work of editing it out. Please, I beg you.
Okay. I'll do my best. Tinto.
Fantastic. So, without further ado, I know you listen to the podcast, so I just want to start by saying thank you very much for your consistent, constant support. It goes a long way in making this thing, grow the way it has. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for this content.
I'm going to take you straight into the fun bit, which is giving you the name that I'm going to use for the duration of this episode. And your name comes from the lovely, massive country of Angola.
Oh.
And your name is Wilder, which is Wilda. Wilder, right?
Wilder.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what that means?
That I'm wild?
Yes.
Oh, this is appropriate.
That's exactly what the name means. It means wild, and that's from Angola. And in the tradition of the podcast, does that mean anything? Is wild relatable either to you or the guy?
I think to the situation.
Yeah. Oh, your situation was wild, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, well, let's do this. What are you gonna call the guy?
I think I'll go with something simple and I'll
Okay.
call him. Have you watched Insecure?
No.
There's a character there called Dro, like DRO.
Just like that, DRO.
Yeah, Dro.
Okay, interesting. All right, so this is about Wilder and Dro. I think I already like where this is going. And
Lord.
we need to draw some lessons from the story that you're going to tell us today. So what lesson or lessons would you like people listening to this episode to learn? That's a big sigh. That's a massive sigh.
The reason why is because I have like maybe 10 to 15 lessons.
Whoa. Easy, love. All right.
Of course, I'm not going to give you all of them.
I need to remember these, and do a recap. So don't kill me with
Don't
10.
worry. I will send you a PDF. But okay, so
Okay.
I do have 3
Yeah.
that I think were
brilliant. Okay.
Yeah, very important.
Go for it.
So, this is one. Know your worth and know what you want.
Oh, nice. Okay.
When someone shows you who they are, don't stay thinking they will change.
Okay. And this is lesson number 2?
This is lesson number 2.
Oh, so people basically don't change. What you see is what you get.
Yeah, what you see is what you get, especially when they've stated who they are. I think that's very important.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and then the last one
Yep.
is you can't save everyone.
Ooh, you can't be playing no Superman superhero things
Yeah,
with hearts,
no Captain Saver.
Wow.
So, yeah, you can't be doing that.
So with this whole saving thing, were you the one who was trying to save everyone, or Dro was trying to save everyone?
I think I was trying to save everyone. I think
I was hoping you'd say that because I can dig into that and really get to the bottom of what you were doing and what was happening.
Tinto, I thought you were here for the story.
I am here for the story. Okay, brilliant.
Man.
So let me play those back. So the first lesson is know your worth and what you want. Second lesson is people don't change. Pretty much what you see is what you get. And the last lesson is you can't save everyone. Is that correct?
Perfect, yes.
Brilliant. Let's get into it. So you and Dro.
Yes, Wilder and
Yeah,
Dro.
Wilder and Dro. Where did you guys link up? How does your thing start?
Oh, man. Let's go back to 2018. So it's kind of recent.
Yeah, kind of fresh, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fresh. So that year was kind of a difficult year for me. And I think it was near the end of the year that we met. I was downtown in New York.
Yeah.
And there was like this small like taco like shop in a hole in the wall. And I was walking with some friends and we were in there and I was just basically lamenting to them that, oh, I was in this other like fling and it didn't work out. And I was just like, I need to get away from men, whatever. And so we walk in and we're about to get some food. And I see this tall guy who's at the front. And so I was just like, I'm still in the men, I'm not interested. And I'm walking and I'm waiting in line. And then he looks up, he looks down to me. And then he's just like, oh, sorry, I just wanted to ask, do you happen to be South African? And I was just like, no, I'm not. And so he's just like, oh, no, let me guess. I was like, no, you don't need to guess. I'm from Zimbabwe. And he's like, oh, of course, yeah, that's where I was going to guess. And I just shoved it aside. Put my order in.
Why are we being so cold?
Because again, I was lamenting about the men that have broken my heart, that have taken me for idiots, and I
Wow.
was just going.
Wow.
And I think I was just in that space of like, oh, you know what, I just need a break. And so
Okay.
I ordered my food and I sat down on the table, and his table was right next to mine. So I'm literally telling my friends again this whole story about like, oh, what happened with the guy that I was seeing, and I just need an absolute break. I'm done. I just need. It's been 2 weeks, and I just need to, live my life. And so we're all having a good time and everything. And I noticed that he leaves with his friend. So like 5 minutes later, he comes back into the restaurant, and then he's like, hey, I've really been wanting to talk to you. I've been so nervous to talk to you because you're so gorgeous, you're so funny, and just hearing you with your friends, I would like to get to know you more. So here's my business card, and here's my number, and you don't have to call me. I completely understand. My name is Dro, and
Yeah.
I hope to talk to you soon. I'm kind of taken aback.
What are you taken aback by?
I think because a lot of the guys I had been dating before were not that direct. It was always very like wishy-washy or whatever. And he was just like, he was just like, I'll be honest, I do want to talk to you. I don't know how to do it. And him giving his business card and like, telling me exactly like, hey, you're not pressured at all to message me back. I completely understand. And I was like, wow, that's a level of self-awareness that I'm not aware of. And so I was just like, okay, I'll give you a shot. So I was like, thanks you so much. And I gave him my number back. And then, almost immediately we were texting, like he had to leave or whatever. And so he was texting us like, oh, okay, this is really nice. And he was just like, I don't want to waste any time. I would like to take you out for dinner tomorrow.
Wow.
So I'm just like, yo, this is fast. And I was just like, and a part of me, I was just like, I thought you said you're no longer talking to guys. And now this man called Dro is all of a sudden in your thing. I was just like, you know what? Why not? So we talked that whole evening. We talked into the next day. We already planned for dinner. And so we went to dinner at this really cool like Tex-Mex place where the conversation was really going good. We got into a lot of deep conversations as well. And one thing that came up is that, he's someone who suffered from anxiety and depression. And for me, as much as I'm a mental health advocate, I definitely know that at the time I was a little bit nervous because I didn't really know how to handle or to support someone who had depression or whatever. And so we're really kind of talking about that. But he seemed like such a nice person that I was just like, you know what, like I'm willing to learn more. And I also have my own mental health struggles and stuff like that. So it was a really good evening. We took a walk, everything. And I'm just like, wow, this guy isn't so bad. It's only been one day, but it's not so bad. Obviously, the tequila had been flowing in the drinks.
Right.
And so there's a point where we were walking and we were like really standing close to each other. And I was just like, oh, and I was standing on like a step because he's really tall. So I was standing on like 2 steps and he was standing at the bottom, and he just looked into my eyes and I was just like, oh my gosh.
I've got a question about that. Why were you on 2 steps in the first place anyway?
Because I was short.
You're short and you've been walking, you're short. I mean, I still don't see the need for you to get onto 2 steps unless you were anticipating something.
No. So, we were joking around about my shortness. So the steps happened to be there. Tito, just enjoy the story.
I'm enjoying the story, but I'm trying to see whether you're. I'm
So
just trying.
no, so
Okay,
no.
go on,
He
go
was
on.
joking around about my height, and then it just happened that I was like, nah, I can't be played like this. So I got on these steps, everything, and then there was that moment of stillness, and then like we kissed.
Now, for me, that is the reason why you got onto them 2 damn steps, right? Because
No,
I don't know. I don't know whether it was the tequila saying something or what, but it just felt, I don't know. It just feels to me like you felt closer to him by getting onto the steps.
Yeah.
And that was the more natural thing to happen. And then for him to
I'm
say
sure,
stuff like,
Tinto.
oh, you could be my girlfriend. In Shona, we call that kusofta. Right? Meaning he's starting
Softer.
he's starting to plant the seed to make you feel all nice and bubbly and cozy. So he's telling you all these nice things, and then you stood on 2 steps, very close to his lips. It was written in the wind. It was written in the books.
Listen, I'm short, and the vibe was good.
The vibe was correct.
Oh my gosh, yes. But you know what? Again, I did say I'm a hopeless romantic. So
Yeah.
in that moment, like,
Yeah.
when I say that was the most phenomenal kiss I had
Wow.
of my life,
Wow.
I don't know what it was. I think I remember just feeling like stars around me.
What? I have never had anybody on this podcast describing a kiss so well.
Obviously, like, I'm taken aback, and I'm like, wow, things are moving fast, but I like that it's moving fast, everything. And I'm just like, oh, you know what? Like, I think we need to cut this off right now. Let's take a break. And he was just like, okay, that's fine. Let me call you an Uber, and it'll take you home. So he calls me an Uber, and we're like still like kind of in this fairy tale moment.
Days, yeah.
Days, and then like so he kisses me, bye, and I get into the Uber again. Yes.
Okay.
Hey, things were moving. I was like, wow, this is where I think I messed up. I was like, you can still spend more time with me.
Oh, why is that messing up though?
Because I invited him over.
Hey. Okay.
So Dro comes over, and we literally just spend the night just like cuddling and like talking and like kissing. And it was so sweet and so genuine. I was like, wow, like this is it. And from that point on, we were literally seeing each other every other day. So we're talking, he would come over, we're doing everything. Like, it was just a really whirlwind like first 2 weeks. He was buying me gifts. I remember he got me this really cute cup and saucer like china set.
Yeah.
With this beautiful tea, because I told him I liked tea and I liked peaches, and so he got me this peach tea blend called the Queen's Tea.
Nice.
Or the Queen's Peach. And like I was just like, this is a lot. Like, I'm a small town girl. People don't really take me for much. So I'm just like kind of surprised, like, wow, people are showering me with gifts in the first week. Okay, I
Yeah.
can live like this.
Yeah.
And so that first 2 weeks was really nice. We're kind of really getting to know each other. The conversations were great, everything. And then the end of the second week, he had an event, and we were talking the whole day. And he's like, "Oh, I'll be back. I'll see you later in the evening." And when he came back in the evening, he was just completely different. He was numb, very distant. Like it was like a very, like, it was not the same person I was talking to.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, I was like, okay, like what's going on? Like, you seem very off. I know you talked about maybe it's your depression. Like, I don't know if that's something happened or something triggered you. What's going on? And he's like, no, I need to tell you something. And he sits me down and he's like, okay, so I was at this event, right? And I was like, oh, cool, yeah. And I was just like, oh, I had all my other friends who were there, and my ex happened to be there.
Oh, really?
And so he was just like, well, I just wanted to let you know, like, we did break up very recently. But so I'm asking him, like, how recent is recent? And he's like, no, we broke up about like 6 weeks ago. So I'm just
Wait
like
a minute. 6 weeks? We're not saying 6 months. 6 weeks ago.
6 weeks ago.
Jeez.
So
Okay.
he met me a month after they broke up.
Wow.
And so now I'm like I'm feeling rocked. I'm like, okay, wait a second. Like we literally met just a few weeks ago. Things were going good. How am I not? You mentioned you had the ex, but you didn't mention like
Yeah.
that you broke up. You told me that you were dating someone for a long time and then
Yeah.
you broke up, but I didn't assume. And I was like, yeah, no. What happened is that they broke up like 6 weeks ago, and he because of him working for this alternative black festival, whatever, he had been traveling. He had been throwing himself in work, everything, and he was just like, "Oh, I'm fine." And this is the thing. I feel like men do this where they break up and they think they're fine, and then like the ramifications of what just happened
Yes.
come much later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I think he was just like, well, I think this is what's happening to me because I thought that I thought that I had gotten over that. And when I saw her at this event, it just hit me that all that time that we spent together, like we're no longer going to be together. And all those feelings kind of rushed in. So I, I still have feelings for her. And like I wasn't happy, but I had to be reasonable because if someone is telling you that they broke up with someone 6 weeks ago,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
only
yeah.
makes sense for those feelings.
And,
So
and at least he was being honest about it. He wasn't trying to hide it, and his countenance was depicting exactly what was happening as well. He was being very open and
right,
transparent.
right,
Did that
and I
appeal to
think
you by any chance?
it did, it did, and
Okay.
I was just like, I'm really glad that we're able to be honest about these conversations. But I'm gonna have to ask you a serious question. Don't you think you need time on your own
Yeah.
to process these feelings? He's like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I think and I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, he said that he was fine, that we're still seeing each other and he didn't need time alone.
Yeah, he really wasn't okay, was he?
He wasn't. But I think this is where my feelings came into play. And I
Okay.
think what comes up in the conversation is just like, he ends up saying, like, I can't promise you a relationship, like a
Ah,
labeled relationship after this. But I do like where we're going and I want us to be exclusive.
that is very strange. What do you mean we can be exclusive, no labels, when exclusive is a label on its own? What did you guys really mean?
I don't even know what I meant, but but the idea that I was in proximity to him and he was in proximity to me, I think we, I will, I will say that I just really wanted him to be around. And even though he had shown me that I wasn't gonna get what I wanted, I still stayed, and I wasn't really asking the questions I needed to ask.
You need to make me understand that. Because what this guy was basically saying to you is that I'm still hung up on my ex.
Right.
For me, I would have considered you what we call a painkiller.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, if somebody's got a headache, take a painkiller, makes that the pain go temporarily, and
Right.
you were well. It's appearing to me as if you were just that. In that he knew he had a sore spot, and he needed that to be calmed down at some point. So he was keeping you close, and I think you might have known the same. Now,
Exactly. Yeah.
given where you had just come from, where you were saying guys are bad and blah blah blah, this was the perfect time for you to run away. So why were you drawn to the pain?
I think it's that thing of, we had compared to the other person that I'd seen before,
Yeah.
I think he was very honest.
But I see something different.
What do you see?
I see a guy saying to you, I'm gonna hurt you and I need you to say that it's okay for me to do so.
Yeah, honestly, like when I think about that, I was latching on to the fantasy of that first evening and that the first 2 weeks.
Okay. I'm gonna dig a little deeper.
Oof.
How good was the sex?
Oh, Tinto. It was phenomenal.
Ah. There we go.
It was phenomenal. No, honestly, like yeah, that really clouded my judgment a
Well,
lot.
so why were you skipping that important piece of detail? Because
I
this is how you presented it to me, right? You said I went onto the 2 steps, I kissed him, I caught an Uber. You said you can enjoy this moment longer. You went home together. You said to me that he came over, but nothing really happened. We cuddled,
No,
which is
the
fine, which is fine.
yeah, the first night, of course, the first night
Which is
nothing
fine,
happened.
but then you blur this whole 2 weeks with you deliberately avoid talking about incredible sex.
Yes, because because it becomes an issue going forward.
Okay, now this is all starting to make a lot of sense. Okay, let me.
So I mean, at the time, obviously, I didn't think it was just the sex thing. I was thinking, okay, well, yeah, it was great, but it also felt like we had done a lot of like breaking down bonds. So that's honestly when things just started falling apart. The Good Morning Beautifuls were now just depleting one by one. I would get one on Monday, then all of a sudden I would get one maybe on Friday, and then all of a sudden I wasn't getting any at all.
And this is after. This is how long after he bumped into his ex?
This is literally like maybe a few weeks after, like maybe a couple of weeks after he bumped into his ex.
Okay.
I'm talking to him and I'm just like, okay, what's like, we talked about these things. Is it what's going on? And like a lot of things in his life too were now kind of starting to play out. It was kind of a perfect storm that not only did he just acknowledge that he still had feelings for his girlfriend, but now he's checking out and I'm still busy, but I'm still kind of checking in on him. And I'm trying to check in on him and his mental health. And I'm trying to be like, is everything okay? What's going on? I'm trying to save someone that doesn't want to be saved.
I see. This is really tying in well because this is your lesson number 3. You can't save everyone.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, one of the things that came up with him being distant in terms of communication, he now was being distant in terms of like affection. And there was a point in time where we would be intimate, but would not kiss anymore. It was kind of like it was
Very mechanical.
very mechanical. And he was sitting on my bed the other time, and I was just like, okay, when was the last time we kissed? And he was like, wait, what do you mean? Like, I kissed you this morning. And I was like, no, that, like, a peck goodbye is not what I'm asking about.
Yeah.
When was the last time we kissed? And there was silence. And he just, like, that awkward look of, like, oh, yeah, it's been a while. And I was like, yeah, that's a problem because we've talked about love languages. I'm someone that is a very touchy-feely person, and I know that he may not always be like that, but this is ridiculous. Like, there's no way you can expect to be intimate and then you can't even kiss somebody. And so we are having this conversation. He was like, no, you're right. I'm going to try and do better. Like, and I think I've just been so distant with what I'm going through with like my mental health that I didn't even consider like your feelings. And so I'll be mindful of that. And so I was like, oh, okay. Like, he's being receptive.
Yeah.
And, the next day he had bought me something. Like, I think he got me like a candle and he got me shoes. And I was just like, oh, okay. For me, I think another issue was that he would always buy gifts when he felt like he had done something wrong, but he would never actually apologize for what he had done.
Right.
So we got into this argument, and I said, oh, we should probably do something together. I don't know what your schedule is like, but I would like to hang out with you for a bit. And he was just like, oh, I have an event, so I can't do anything this weekend, because I think I suggested a Saturday. And I was like, okay, you know what? That's okay. That's fine. I'll just see you at another time. And so on the Saturday, I'm doing some other work stuff. And then he pings me his location and he's like, okay, come down. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? I thought you had an event. And he's like, no, well, I canceled the event, so you can come down and meet me here. And I'm just like, that's really sweet of you, but I'm now doing something else. Like, I can't meet you at the event. I can't meet you at wherever you are. But, or maybe, and so he gets upset. He's like, well, I can't believe you're doing this. Like, I canceled this event for you, and now you're not going to show up. And I'm just like, yo.
Okay.
And so I'm just like looking and I'm just like, what is going on? And I'm just like, okay, listen, just give me a moment to get ready.
Yeah.
And so I get ready and I make my way down to the sushi place. And he's already like, he has his drinks, he had his sushi and everything. And I'm kind of upset and I'm just like, okay, so what's going on? And then he's like, no, I'm not going to have this conversation with you. And I'm just like, excuse me, like, why are you dismissing me? Like, I just got here. So we almost get into the argument at the sushi place. And all the white people are looking at these black folk like, hey,
Yeah.
look at them. Like,
Yeah.
and so we basically, like, we were able to kind of table it for the evening. But at the end, like, we get an Uber, we come back home, and he had lots of his stuff at my place. And the next morning, he's kind of taking his stuff and he's just like, oh, I think maybe we just need some time apart. So I'm gonna take my stuff for a bit and then I'll give you a moment to cool down. And so I'm irritated because I don't know what is going on. Like, I'm not asking for space. I'm not, like, it was just such a ridiculous argument. So he took his stuff and then we didn't talk for 2 weeks. I'm just like, what? Like, everything was just, it was just so abrupt. So now, it's like, this is like the new year. So this has been happening like the last few months of 2018, and now it's 2019. And then he's like, hey, I want to meet up. Like, do you want to talk or whatever? And I was like, yeah, sure, come through. And so he comes over and I talked to him and I was like, okay, what happened that last time, you were here? Because we were like, all I asked was to meet up with you. You said you couldn't make it. All of a sudden, you've canceled everything. Yeah. And then now I'm the villain here. And he was just like, well, yeah, I am sorry. I definitely mishandled that. But I do feel like, if you wanted to talk about it, you should have been more, proactive and trying to reach out to me. And I was like, are you kidding me?
I mean, what was he really expecting you to do? Because that's exactly what you did.
I was just like, I'm trying to support you as best as possible,
yeah.
but you're not telling me what's going on. And so now we're talking about the new year, what we want to do. I think we kind of agreed, like, okay, yes, there were things that could have been done, especially on his end, that could have been done better. But let's move past that. And so we're like, okay, you know what are our plans for the new year? We're trying to keep things light. We're laughing. We're playing music, everything. We're just like, oh, we're going to agree to be celibate for the year. Let's focus on, let's focus on our emotional, stuff and not just focus on the sex. I'm like, what? I agree. I think that'll be great.
So can I just stop you there for a sec?
Yes.
What are you guys at this point?
We're still in that limbo of it was an entanglement.
So why is there so much care and concern for people who are in limbo?
You can tell that I've overinvested.
It really feels that way, that, okay, you genuinely have overinvested, and it might be an internal conversation to say, do I cut my losses now or not? And at that point, you felt you'd gone in too deep just to give up.
And that's where things came to a head. This night where we are giggling and laughing and saying, hey, new year, new me. We're lying in bed.
Right.
And we're just, kissing and everything. And, obviously we've agreed that we're going to be celibate. So I was just like, oh, one more kiss before we begin this. And then he gets really like upset. He's like, no, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, okay, and I'm like, I think because I'm just like, okay, but why, whatever. And he's just like, okay, stop. I know you like me more than you're willing to put on and everything. And I'm just like, I'm freezing because I'm just like, what did I do? And then it's becoming, like, he's just like, oh, he starts yelling, like, do you not like me? Do you not like me? And I keep quiet because I'm just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then he's like, you see, your silence is an answer enough. In general, I would not be sleeping with someone I don't like.
Yeah.
So, And so he was just like, and he's now like, oh, I knew you're gonna want a relationship, and now look, now you have feelings for me. This is not what I wanted, and I'm just like, yo, like, and he's like, no, this is too much. I think I need to leave. And so it's in the middle of winter, and I'm just like, okay, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like, okay, I'm not comfortable with you going out in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Who trying to breathe? And then I turn around. Mans has got his skull cap on, his jacket, his coat, everything, his bags. He's just like,
Wow.
and I'm just like, and this man has the audacity to be like, well, it's already morning anyway, so I might as well leave now.
Gosh.
As he walks out of my room, he's like, okay, I'll see you. And I was like, oh no, have a nice life. And he just shuts my door, and I'm just like, what am I doing? He messaged me once he gets home. He's like, when I was saying I was gonna leave, I was just giving you some space. I didn't mean for the rest of your life, but since you're done with me, it's fine. I'll leave you be. And I'm just like, yo, I asked you for one thing. I just asked you not to leave now because I was right, and you couldn't even do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay. I think I need to cut my losses now. Let me just let it be, and I'll wish you well. So I say goodbye to Dro. And again, we don't talk to each other for like a whole like month. I'm trying to reel from this experience and just like, wow, I should have been better. I should have not put myself in a position where I'm giving my all to someone who's not really gonna give me much back. I should have been a bit smarter about my emotions. But here I am, hopeless romantic, liking the fantasy. So that whole first month of January, I'm just living my life. I'm just trying to deal with the fact that I'm a little bit disappointed. Not a little bit, a lot of it disappointed. I'm upset and everything. He messages me like in the middle of that time, like he's like, "Oh, hi, I hope you're well," and I'm just like, "Okay, hey," and then I don't hear back.
This guy's really unstable. I mean,
And I mean, to be honest, I feel like that's why me, Wilder, I was enabling this to a certain extent, because I could have just cut it off and be like, no, no, no. So I'm telling him like, yo, listen, last time I checked, we had already agreed that we were exclusive, but we were not in a relationship.
Yeah.
I never told you to do anything. I never told you to do whatever. You stormed out of my house by yourself.
Yeah.
So leave me alone.
Mm.
And I get a message from Dro. And he's like, hey, how are you? Like, I hope you're well. And honestly, like, I'm just like, okay, this is probably another gaslighting exercise of his. What's going on? And I'm just like, okay, what's up? How's it going? I'm trying to be civil. Then he's like, well, I kind of want to see you before I leave. And I'm like, where are you leaving? He's like, oh, I got a new job in another town, in another state. So I'm going to be leaving at the end of the month.
Mm-mm.
So I'm just like, oh, okay, well, sure. I guess, like, let's get the closure and call it a day.
Yeah.
And so he comes over. And granted, I didn't expect him to apologize. I didn't expect him to do anything, because I was even surprised that I heard from him.
Yeah.
Considering that we weren't talking, or when we did talk, it was like a one text randomly, and it was always just shady.
Yeah.
So, he comes and he comes back and he's just like, hey, how are you doing? And I'm just looking at him like, okay, you know what? Like, what's up? And he like, again, I said that he doesn't apologize. He's never apologized every time. Like, he's always buying gifts. So he comes with no gifts this time. And he says, Wilder, I am so, so sorry for the way I treated you. I wasn't being honest with what I was going through with my depression. I wasn't listening to what you were saying. You were just genuinely trying to help me out. And I feel like a jerk, and I am a jerk for not acknowledging that. And I really want to apologize to you. And I was like, yeah, no, I first of all, thank you for your apology. I didn't even expect you to even come back here, let alone to apologize. So that's interesting to me. And the second thing is like, yeah, I wasn't telling you everything because I didn't know what version of you was coming to my house.
Mm.
I felt like we were doing so well at the beginning of this entanglement or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the minute you told me that you still had feelings for your ex, everything just went out the window.
Yeah.
Like you treated me like anyhow.
Yeah.
And I just genuinely wanted to be there for you. Yes, I had feelings for you, but you kind of punished me for having those feelings for you.
Mm.
And so he's just like, no, you're right. I'm going back to therapy. I'm being more mindful of that. I want to do better, but I wanted to make sure that at least before I leave, I've made amends with you and stuff like that. And so I'm just like, oh, I appreciate it, and we talk a bit, and I mean, like, for me at that moment, I was just like, okay, this is a great way to end off. We had goodbye sex. Anyway, and like after that, I was like, okay, what, like this is amazing, but I'm glad that we've made this peace.
Yeah.
But no, it gets wilder because now we're still talking after we've gotten this closure. And he was supposed to leave, I think, the week after we got that closure. And he's like, well, actually, I've postponed my ticket so I can spend some more time with you.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. Just let me know what's going on. So the evening that the Friday that he was supposed to leave, he pushed his ticket back to, I think, Saturday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was supposed to come over that Friday evening. Oh, does he not start messaging me like, oh, my friends took me out for something. I'll be back a little bit later. I was like, okay, it's fine that you're with friends, but like, I thought that was the whole point of you postponing your flight with me, like for me, so that we could hang out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I was just like, okay, it's okay. I was like, I'm not going to be mad at you that you went with friends, but I think just go on your flight and we'll check in whenever. So he leaves. I'm trying to live my life. I'm trying to do everything, all this stuff, and we're talking bit by bit as he's in this new place, and he's messaging me and he's like, no, I miss you, what. And like, I'm starting to fall back into that fantasy again. So we're talking and everything, and I'm just like, wow, I actually really do care for this person.
That's a nice way to call it, but you sound like you are dickmatized.
Yes, I was, but I thought it was love.
Okay.
So I'm talking to him, like I think like a few months go by and everything, and we're checking in. So I'm just telling him like, like I really do love you. I really do care about you. Like I don't want you to, like I love you, but I don't want you to necessarily worry about, saying it back. I just wanted to let you know that you're valued and all that stuff. And so the response, like I don't get a response after I say that. I was just like, okay, it's cool. The next morning, I get this ridiculous text.
Okay.
He says, Wilder, ... This is like uncool and not fair. You don't even know what I've been going through with my mental health. And for you to drop this on me makes me feel like a shithole.
What the hell? What does it mean? You dropping what? The I love you on him makes him feel like a shithole?
Yeah.
How? When you're showing the utmost.
When I say, I just stood and I was like, wait, what did I
really don't get this guy.
I don't get this guy either. And so I'm panicking because I'm just like, and like, I'm trying to save this person. Like, I'm like, no. Like, of course, I didn't want to cause any trigger. I didn't want to trigger you. That's the only thing. Like, I'm trying to basically salvage whatever I think I've done wrong. To be honest, I don't even know what I've done wrong. I don't hear from him at all. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And so I'm telling my friends about this, and they're just like, what, like you have done too much. You have been for this person. Now you're saying you're making him feel like a shithole because you said you cared for him and you loved him, whatever.
Madness.
And and I'm just like, no, and I'm trying to laugh it off. I'm like, yeah, wow, guys, this is crazy. Wow, this is crazy. And I thought I was doing well and I was fine and everything. And in the middle of work, all of a sudden, I just feel ill. I feel ill. Like, when you feel like that nausea, when you feel like you're about to, like, throw up, but
Yeah.
you're not.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like, all the blood in my body just disappeared. I was just keeled over in my chair.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why. And so I'm messaging my friend and I'm like, I don't know why I feel like this. I know I'm not sick. I don't know what's going on. And they're like, no, I think you might be going through heartbreak. And I'm like, no, like that's not possible. My health completely deteriorated. Like I was so sick. All of a sudden I had issues with my skin. I had like cysts in my like under my arm and under my chin. Like everything was just falling apart because I think I didn't realize how much I had invested in this person who didn't treat me well
Oh
and
dear.
how it became so evident that like it literally took me admitting that I loved this person at the end to realize like, oh my God, this person does
Y-
not give a shit about me.
Damn.
I had to take a day off work. I had to all of a sudden like my skin, like my whole body was basically like, we do not like what's going on.
Yeah.
Like everything fell apart. Even like my like I had like very prominent issues with like my reproductive system as well, like in terms
Yeah.
of like nothing to do with him, but like just all of a sudden, I went to the gynecologist and they're like, oh, we found a cyst on your ovary, and then we found this, and I was just like, how is this possible that
Yeah.
this one feeling has
Causes so much. Yeah.
caused so much? And maybe it didn't necessarily cause that, but it really like kind of lit the fire. And I just
Yeah.
remember just thinking like, oh my God, like I just never want to feel that way. Also, there's no closure because I don't really know what was going on. And I was just really struggling. And so my friends were really trying to help me out. I was trying to really figure out like, okay, you know what? There's a lot of stuff that I could have done better. I could have done better with this person, and I'm just trying to take one day at a time. So after this whole, like, I think a few months of this, and I finally made peace with everything, or trying to make peace with it. And it's the summertime. I'm doing a bit better. The sun is out. Everything. I've gotten medication, all that stuff that I needed, and I get a message, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And I ignored. I was like, "No." Then it's like, "Oh." Then the person messages again. It's like, "Oh, Wilder, It- hello, it's Joe."
Yeah.
I ignored. And then like I think like maybe after a few days, I was just like, you know what? Let me hear what this man has to say.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, okay, hey Joe, I'm surprised I'm even hearing from you, to be honest. And he's like, oh, he now is like putting it on me. He's like, oh well, I'm sorry, sorry to bother you. I won't bother you again. And I'm just like, no, you're not bothering me. But I'm surprised I'm hearing from you, considering that you said I made you feel like a shithole the last time we
Yeah.
spoke.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna have this conversation. Blah 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 blah. And I was just like, yo, you are the one who's messaging me. Why are you messaging me? Because I
Yeah.
won't talk to you until we have a discussion of why
Yeah.
you said that. And I was like, is it because you didn't feel the same way? Is it because you did feel the same way, but you were dealing with that stuff? What's going on? And all he's like, I don't know. And I'm just like, you know what? Until you're ready to have this conversation with me, we have nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
And, I tell my friends, I tell my roommates what happened, and they're just like, this man, like, why is he trying to follow you? What's going on? I'm just like, oh, you know what? It's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Um, I'm just gonna try and pretend like nothing happened. And then now the feelings are now coming back, and I'm messaging this person like,
Oh
oh,
my
okay.
God. I don't get what was going on with you.
This is what I'm saying. Like, I don't, it was definitely the stigmatization.
Wow.
It was, and I'm just like, I was like, you've done so much work. You don't need to be doing this. And I was sitting on the train and I just asked myself, I was like, are you happy? Are you happy with yourself? Did you win anything from this?
And the answer was no.
No. Like, you're chasing something that has shown you multiple times that is not there. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And I remember I was just like, I have to be stronger than this. I have
Yeah.
to be able to let this go.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of spiraled. I was trying to like get over him. I was trying to go out and everything. And I was like, we need to be serious with ourselves. Let's not do this. So after that, I removed him off my social media and my everything, and I just basically sat with myself. I was like, it was now a year later, exactly a year later from the time that we met, and I was just
Yes.
like, you said last year that you were done with men, and you didn't take yourself seriously. Now
You're in the exact same spot.
now in the
And
same
yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
And now I need you to be serious with yourself. So
Yeah.
Wilder, we are going to be celibate. We're going to do these things. Don't get distracted. And I did that. So almost immediately, I was like, yeah, I need to focus on myself. I need to do the things that I need to do. So the end of 2019 happens and I come into the next year. In May, I'm just minding my own business and I get a message on Instagram and I see it's Joe. And I've taken the time to really process my feelings and
Yeah.
everything. And I'm just like, I don't really need to be talking to this person. So I ignore him. Then on the fourth day, because this is what he does, he's trying to gauge interest.
Yeah.
He messages me on my phone, my full name. He says, Wilder dash dash dash.
Mm-hmm.
How are you? I miss you. I hope you've been taking care of yourself and everything. And I was just like, okay. I was like, okay, I just messaged him. I'm like, listen, I don't know why you're messaging me, but I'm doing okay. And I wish you well.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I want us to talk. Like, can you talk and everything? And I'm just like, I was like, girl, you already know this is the same shit that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. It's not going to change.
It's not going to change. And so I'm just like, I know where I went wrong with my emotions and my feelings and where I should have been more upfront with you with that. That I'll always take, I'll take
Yeah.
as my L. But you thinking that you can come back into my life whenever you want to, after you said something so horrendous,
Yeah.
and I don't understand where it came from.
Yeah.
No. Like, because I was like, even if you didn't love me, I think it would have been better if you just said you didn't feel the same way. And I also gave you the room to say that. I never expected, like, I think a part of me knew, I thought you felt the same way, but I think also I knew myself that you might not have felt that way. But I never expected you to say I made you feel like a shithole. But what happened is that in September, he messages me and he's like, oh, guess what? I'm moving back to New York City. And so I just left it like that. And then we reconnect on Instagram because I think at that point I'm just like, okay, I don't need to block you. I don't really have feelings for you. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
And then he messages me and I'm like, oh, hey, neighbor, like New York neighbor, like not, oh, living in the same neighborhood. I was like, oh, have you finally moved? He's like, oh, no, I haven't. But guess where I'm going to be staying? And he sends me the address. And it is exactly 2 blocks away from
you.
my building.
Jeez.
And I was just like, oh, that's mad close. And I am just literally like, I was like, what is this man trying to do?
Yeah.
And for the next for during that time, he was really just trying to meet up or like, oh, hey, what's going on? What's this? And I just basically I was like, no, I'm not doing this.
It's
please.
it's a really good thing that you haven't seen him whilst it's so close, because for me this really feels like now you understand your worth, and the first lesson was you need to know your worth and know what you want. So you know your worth and you know you definitely don't want him. And your second lesson in there was people don't change. This guy was very consistent about being a disengaged guy from day one.
Right.
And then the last one, you can't save anyone. This guy was definitely way beyond any saving or redemption. I think the person that you couldn't really save in this instance is yourself.
Right.
And I think you sound like you're at the point where you've managed to do that. So well done.
Thank you. I mean, therapy is a wonderful, wonderful investment.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. I guess I would say it's my first stigmatization, my first love.
Quite clearly.
Quite clearly. But it definitely it also made me think a lot about like my relationship with my body and how my emotions really impact that.
Yeah,
and it's an ongoing thing, but I'm so grateful that I'm not the same person that I was then. Like, I just can't believe it.
And I'm really grateful for sharing that important lesson, because this is a sign of real growth, and that's what we'd like to show on this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, Walter, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate this this incredible story. It shows real transformation. It highlights the challenges that you have in thinking that you know yourself, but the reality on the ground is maybe you don't.
Right.
But now you've had time to reflect, and I think the pandemic has helped you do that as well. Sit down, reflect, have some time, take your walks. And just want to say thank you for sharing your story. And for those listening to this episode of The Feeling Station, the lessons once again: know your worth. Second, people don't change. And last but not least, you can't save anyone. This is your Tinto. Oh, no, this is your host, Tinto, and I look forward to catching you. That's hilarious. I'm your host, Tinto, and I look forward to catching you in the next episode. Peace.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Sati's on Daro Raini and Chagezai.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Sati's on Daro Raini and Chagezai.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziro amai.
Kujidziro amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziro amai.